Arsenal are going to beat Real Madrid. And I'm so sorry if you're a rival fan watching this, but that's truly what I believe. Now, this isn't me, an Arsenal fan, being deluded and pretending this is going to be an easy game. But I'm going to come to you with some what I believe to be valid reasons as to why Arsenal are the perfect team to expose some of Real Madrid's weaknesses. Like I said, it's a difficult game, but there are reasons to be optimistic if you're an Arsenal fan. Things have not been so great lately for Arsenal fans, but I think our luck is about to change. And in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly why. I hope we can have some sensible discussion and honest opinion. Before we get into it, though, I want to ask you one quick favour. If you could, please just hit like on this video. So before all of these games, as always, I just want to ask you one quick question, and this is the big one. I want to know what your guys' score prediction is for the Arsenal versus Real Madrid game, and if anyone is able to get the correct scoreline in the breakdown video after the game, I will flash your name up on screen just so everyone knows how good your football knowledge is. So before we get into the video, let me know your Arsenal versus Real Madrid score prediction. This game for me will be determined by what Mikel Arteta chooses to do. Is he going to approach this game in a defensive mindset? Or is he going to look at it in a way that many of us Arsenal fans would and say, just attack the moment? This is such a unique opportunity for these Arsenal fans to truly live long in the memory of every Arsenal fan. The Arsenal players have a chance to live in the Arsenal fans' memory for such a long time. Name me a bigger moment in Arsenal's recent European history than this moment right now. And these Arsenal players have a chance to do what players like Dennis Bergkamp done in European fixtures all those years ago. Only in the home games, of course. But you think of Arsenal's last massive win in the Champions League, and you probably have to flash back to a time when we had players like Thierry Henry gracing the Highbury and the Emirates Stadium on a weekly basis. When Arsenal beat Real Madrid at the Bernabeu was probably Arsenal's biggest win in Europe, you know, of recent memory. And that even was 20 years ago. That's how long it's been since Arsenal have produced a win in these kind of circumstances. And these players have the opportunity to do that here and now at a time when things aren't so great for Arsenal. Mikel Arteta, what does he do? What do you guys genuinely think? How will Arteta approach this game? Is he going to go defensive, which is understandable in a way? Now, it's not something that I would do, but something Arsenal have been able to rely on for about 2 or 3 seasons is just how strong we are defensively. So if he's looking at Arsenal's strongest area of the pitch, he's probably going to look at Arsenal's defence. That has been made weaker recently with the absence of Gabriel. He's probably the guy in the Arsenal backline who dictates how Arsenal's defence shapes and plays out in most games. So we are without that. So the defence for Arsenal in this game and going forward this season is weaker. But we still do have some players that can play a key role if Arsenal are to set up defensively. Like I said, I don't think that's something that a lot of Arsenal fans want to see, Arsenal be defensive in a game like this. Most of us would go all out attack, but all I can give you is what I think Arteta will do. And unfortunately, this might be a game where we're going to be uncomfortable at times because Arteta might sit deep and rely on that defence that has been exactly that, just so reliable for Arsenal over the past couple of seasons. For me, I would like to see Arsenal attack this game. We've obviously seen recently Bukayo Saka we have back. I think we've seen Trossard score in the last game, and he's been okay. And Martinelli especially has looked more sharp than he has done in points of this season. Now, he's certainly not the Martinelli of 2 seasons ago where he was banging in goals, but you're starting to see there has maybe been a slight mentality shift with Martinelli, and that's something that many of us have been wanting to see, because Martinelli in full flow, when he's on top form, for me, is still Arsenal's most exciting player at times when he's just running at defence, because he has those attributes. He has the speed, he has the unpredictability, which is something I think can seriously hurt this Real Madrid team, who defensively, they're not that great. If you look in La Liga even, look, it's a very good league, but it's certainly not as strong as the Premier League. And they're, in terms of, they're sitting second place, but in terms of the top 4 teams, they've conceded the most goals. They've conceded more goals than Barcelona, more goals than Atletico Madrid, and more goals than Athletic Bilbao. Barcelona have conceded 29 goals, Atletico Madrid 24, Athletic Bilbao 24, And then Real Madrid conceded 31 goals. I'm looking at their defence, and that's an area of the pitch that I think Arsenal can have some true success with the players that we have. I think that's where we can get at them. So why not focus our game towards being more attacking? Yes, we don't have every single player available in those attacking areas, but we still, like I just mentioned, have the players that can really hurt Real Madrid. And a position or an area of the pitch where I seem to, well, they seem to be more vulnerable is set pieces, which plays into Arsenal's hands, of course, because in terms of set pieces, Arsenal are when we have all our team available, probably the best team in world football. Now, we don't have Havertz, who can be pivotal in those moments, and we don't have Gabriel, who is instrumental in those moments. But we still do have Jova. We still do have a guy that can coordinate, some set piece masterclasses. At times you see it, and it's dynamic. It's something that other teams don't seem to be doing. So hopefully he can conjure up something to really panic this Real Madrid team and hit them in an area where I find they are susceptible and particularly weak at times, which is those playing in the corners. When you whip a ball in, they seem to panic and not clear the ball as quickly as probably the Real Madrid coaching staff would like. So I think that's an area where Arsenal can really get at them. They've also got no Mendy. Now, the only frustrating thing is there was kind of some whispers maybe that players like Mbappe and Rudiger would miss this fixture due to a UEFA ban, but they seem to have swerved it. They've kind of been hit with if you do it again within the next 12 months, then we will ban you. So they're going to have basically a full team except probably Mendy in defence. Now, like I said, defensively, I don't think they're that strong. They're certainly not as strong as Arsenal. Their midfield and attack is obviously where they really flourish. They got some really, really good players, but their team is not unbelievably different to Arsenal, and people aren't going to like me saying that, but when you actually go through the personnel, now they do have a couple of people that Arsenal don't have players near their ability. But you think of the back line, you think of Rudiger. He's one of the best centre-backs in the world, but you look at Arsenal's team and we have William Saliba, so the difference there isn't too much. You look in midfield and you think Jude Bellingham, you think Camavinga, but then you look at Arsenal and you think Declan Rice, you think Martin Odegaard. So again, there is not too much of a difference in terms of ability. Now, you might prefer the Real Madrid players or you might prefer the Arsenal players, but I'm just saying in terms of actual ability, I don't see there being too much of a difference. And unfortunately, when you get into the forward line, that's where the shift becomes quite noticeable, because they've got Vini Jr., who I would compare to Saka, different sides, I know, but in terms of that caliber of player, Vini Jr. being world class, Bukayo Saka is undoubtedly world class and kind of probably putting up similar numbers. So they have Vini Jr., we have Saka, but then they have Mbappe, and we don't really have an answer to that. And then they have Rodrygo, who maybe you can say Martinelli, but, like I said, Martinelli 2 years ago, you could have put him head-to-head with Rodrygo comfortably, but he's just not producing the numbers that Rodrygo is. So no doubt Real Madrid are dangerous in attack, but it's not doom and gloom, because Real Madrid still aren't even the top-scoring team in La Liga. They're 20 goals short of Barcelona, so this isn't a team that turns up regularly and blows teams out of the water and are by far and away the best scorers in La Liga and in Spain, because that's just not the case. They're a good team who you should be wary of because they have some dangerous players. But if you flip it around and if they're looking at Arsenal, they're going to say it's a dangerous team who have some dangerous players that you should be wary of. So this is a game that's going to be more balanced than I think a lot of people are expecting it to be, rival fans especially. Now, in terms of a score prediction, I'd say Arsenal are, well, I'd say probably, but I'm hoping Arsenal will win this game. I would love a 2-goal cushion, and I would love Arsenal to win this game 3-1. But if I'm being realistic, I think Arsenal are going to win this game 2-1. I think they will inevitably score with that front three. I think they're going to get a chance, and unfortunately, I think they're probably going to bury it. But again, Arsenal are at home. In terms of let's get into the team selection, because this is important, and this will dictate the way that Arsenal are not only going to play, but the outcome that we can achieve. So, David Raya, I think right back, and let me know your guys' team selection. Let me know who you would go for. I would go for David Raya, Timber at right back, Ben White centre back, Gabriel, Lewis Skelly. It's not a back five that we've probably seen many times over the past couple of seasons, but if you're looking at the personnel only, you can't tell me those players aren't good enough to play in a game like this, because you've got David Raya, one of the best keepers in the Prem and probably world football. Timber, who's been brilliant. Ben White, who we bought as a centre-back, so we know he can play that position. Coming back from injury, but still brilliant player, has all the attributes to play that position. Quick, fast, strong, aggressive. What else do you need? Saliba next to him, and then Lewis Skelly. And then you go into midfield. I think you have to go Partey, Rice and Odegaard. And I think the front three is where there's going to be some difference of opinion. Let me know what front three you guys go for. Because for me, I go Bukayo Saka on the right, Martinelli on the left, and then Trossard up front. I think some people might opt for Merino up front. But in a game like Real Madrid, I don't think you can afford to play Mikel Merino or start Mikel Merino up front. I think you need the technicality of Trossard up front. I think you need the speed of Martinelli on the left, and obviously you need the brilliance of Bukayo Saka on the right. And if you're looking at that team on paper, there's no reason why they can't beat Real Madrid. Now, of course, it's going to be difficult. I'm not going to pretend that Arsenal are favourites in this game. Arsenal are not favourites to progress through to the next round, but that's only because we haven't seen us do it in recent years. Real Madrid are the biggest team in world football. They're the European champions, so of course they're going to be the team, maybe with all the pressure. People are expecting Arsenal to lose this game, and that might play into Arsenal's hands. We had a heavily rotated squad against Everton. Did we deserve to win that game? I don't know. Look, it was difficult, but I think we can brush that under the carpet and go into this game with some confidence, knowing that we have the players. Like, if you're looking at Arsenal's team, you need that star factor, and Arsenal have that star factor in every area of the pitch. We have William Saliba in defence, who any team in world football would take. Look at the midfield. You've got Martin Odegaard. You have the story there with him being at Real Madrid when he was younger. You've got Declan Rice, the £100 million player. And you have the crown jewel, which is Bukayo Saka, who has the ability to turn any game on its head. You think of Bukayo Saka in the Champions League, and this is a player now who does have pedigree. You think of last season's against Bayern Munich, when people were saying he can't do it in the big games. Every time someone has questioned Bukayo Saka, he's come back and made him look silly, because he's an unbelievable player. And this is the game that Bukayo Saka can be the difference. And I'm expecting Bukayo Saka to be the difference. That's not to heap pressure on him. That's just to tell you guys how good I think this and know this player is. We've seen it before. Bukayo Saka always turns up in the big games, and I don't see this game being any different. Let me know your guys' thoughts on everything you've heard in this video. Let me know your score prediction. Let me know your team selection. But in particular, let me know that front three that you go with for Real Madrid. Thanks so much to everyone for watching and listening. Before you go, do me a quick favour. Just hit like and subscribe, and I'll speak to you all in tomorrow's video. Gooners, have a good day.